Imagine waking up to a world where the US and China have stopped trading overnight. The phone in your hand, the medicine in your cabinet, the clothes in your closet, all part of a global story. For decades, these two superpowers have been deeply connected by trade, shaping our daily lives. This connection has made products cheaper and more available, but also created a fragile interdependence. What if that link suddenly broke? This isn't science fiction, it's a real risk leaders are considering right now. A total trade stop would send shockwaves through every home and business. It could trigger a global economic crisis and disrupt supplies of essentials, from life-saving drugs to car parts. The US-China relationship is a tightrope walk between cooperation and competition, and the rope is shaking. Tensions over technology, military power, and global influence are rising. If trade collapses, competition wins, and the consequences would be enormous for every nation. This story isn't just about numbers, it's about the stability of our world. We'll explore how we got here, what's happening now, and what the future could hold. We'll look at the real impact on American families, Chinese workers, and global security. Understanding this issue is critical, because the outcome will affect us all. The future of our world may depend on what happens next. The US-China trade story is decades in the making. After years of isolation, the 1970s brought a historic shift. US leaders saw opportunity in opening up to China. Diplomatic ties were established in 1979, and trade began to surge. American companies found a vast new market, and a place to manufacture goods cheaply. China, eager to modernize, welcomed US technology and investment. The partnership deepened in 2001, when China joined the World Trade Organization, agreeing to global trade rules. This sparked a golden age. Chinese factories churned out goods for Americans, while China bought US products like soybeans and airplanes. The two economies became tightly intertwined, but problems emerged. America bought far more from China than it sold, creating a huge trade deficit. US manufacturing jobs vanished as companies moved production overseas. Tensions grew, and by 2017, the US officially shifted from engagement to rivalry. Trade disputes and competition replaced the era of friendly cooperation. The stage was set for today's conflicts. What began as a partnership for mutual benefit has become a battleground for economic and strategic power. The world's two largest economies are now locked in a struggle that affects everyone. Understanding this history is key to grasping what's at stake. The roots of today's crisis run deep, and the outcome will shape the global order for years to come. As 2025 ends, US-China relations are on a knife's edge. Earlier this year, both sides unleashed a wave of tariffs, hurting businesses and consumers. A temporary truce was reached after high-level talks, with China promising to buy millions of tons of US soybeans. But China's slow follow-through has Washington worried the peace won't last. Lawmakers from both parties are skeptical, with some openly saying China can't be trusted. Despite the tension, economic teams have held multiple rounds of talks, trying to keep trade flowing. China's export machine remains strong, posting record trade surpluses even under US tariffs. American companies still flock to Chinese trade shows, eager to reach China's growing middle class. The result? Governments are at odds, but businesses are still deeply invested in cooperation. It's a fragile balance. One missed deadline or political misstep could shatter it. The world is watching, knowing that a breakdown could have global consequences. The next move could tip the scales toward crisis or compromise. The stakes have never been higher. Every decision now could reshape the future of global trade. The world holds its breath. If US-China trade stopped tomorrow, you'd feel it immediately at home and in stores. Everyday items, phones, laptops, sneakers, toys, would vanish from shelves. Prices would skyrocket as supply dried up. The US doesn't have the factories to replace these goods quickly. Rebuilding would take years. Families would pay more for basics, with lower and middle-income households hit hardest. The crisis goes beyond gadgets. Medicine supplies would be at risk. China provides about 80% of the key ingredients for US pharmaceuticals. A trade halt could trigger a public health emergency, with hospitals facing drug shortages. The auto and tech industries would also suffer, lacking critical parts and rare earth minerals. China dominates the market for these minerals, essential for everything from electric cars to defense systems. Earlier this year, China even paused rare earth exports, showing how vulnerable the US is. A complete stop would cripple American industries and disrupt daily life. The global supply chain that supports our lifestyle would collapse. The comfort and convenience we take for granted would disappear overnight. The risks are real, and the impact would be felt by everyone. The world's economic engine would grind to a halt. A trade stop would devastate China too. For decades, China's rise has depended on exporting goods, especially to the US, its biggest customer. If US orders vanished, factory cities like Shenzhen would face mass layoffs and shutdowns. Millions could lose their jobs, threatening social stability and sparking unrest. The collapse would ripple outward. Truck drivers, port workers, and suppliers would all be hit. China's domestic market isn't strong enough yet to absorb the shock. The country also relies on US technology and agricultural imports. A trade halt would cut China off from vital supplies, deepening the crisis. China is racing to become self-sufficient, but it's not there yet. A total breakdown would be a self-inflicted wound, risking economic hardship and political instability. The government's grip on power could be tested as millions face uncertainty. The stakes for China are just as high as for the US. A US-China trade war would shake the entire globe. Countries supplying raw materials to China, like Australia and Brazil, would see demand collapse. Southeast Asian nations, part of the supply chain, would face factory shutdowns. Europe's economies would suffer as global demand shrinks. Political instability would follow, forcing nations to choose sides. Alliances could fracture and organizations like the WTO might become powerless. The risk of military conflict would rise, especially in flashpoints like the South China Sea. Disrupted trade routes and resource competition could spark dangerous confrontations. This isn't just an economic crisis, it's a threat to global peace. The world's stability hangs in the balance. The US-China struggle is about more than trade, it's a fight for global influence and security. Taiwan is the most dangerous flashpoint, with China vowing reunification and the US committed to Taiwan's defense. Military tensions are rising, with new weapons, drills, and shows of force on both sides. The South China Sea is another hotspot, where China's militarized islands threaten global shipping. The US Navy challenges these claims, risking direct confrontation. Technology is a new battleground. America fears Chinese tech giants, while China sees US restrictions as attempts to hold it back. The world is splitting into rival tech ecosystems, deepening the divide. Each of these flashpoints is tied to the trade dispute. An economic breakdown would make military conflict more likely. The stakes are existential. Peace, prosperity, and the future world order are all on the line. The choices made now will echo for generations. This is a contest that goes far beyond money. It's about who shapes the future. Experts on all sides warn that the current truce is fragile and unlikely to last. In Washington, both parties agree. China's promises are met with deep skepticism. Lawmakers fear America's reliance on China for medicine and rare earths is a critical weakness. Calls to decouple are growing, but experts say it would be slow, costly, and disruptive. In China, officials argue the US is stuck in a zero-sum mindset, insisting cooperation is the only way forward. They claim China doesn't seek to replace the US, but to coexist peacefully. Asian nations caught in the middle are anxious, preferring diplomacy over confrontation. They fear being forced to choose sides could destroy their economic progress. The world is watching, hoping for dialogue but bracing for fallout. The stakes are global and the risks are real. The US-China trade question is one of the defining challenges of our time. A breakdown could trigger a global depression, destabilize security, and risk conflict. Decades of economic ties are both a source of tension and a reason for peace. For Americans, Chinese trade means lower prices and more choices. For China, it's fueled historic growth. Mutual dependence gives both sides a reason to avoid disaster. Leaders must navigate mistrust and competing interests with care and diplomacy. The world must encourage dialogue and prepare for a future shaped by this rivalry. The decisions made now will impact jobs, security, and prosperity everywhere. This isn't just a problem for politicians, it affects us all. The future of the global order is being written right now.